This is Friday Evening's Undercard. On our wrestling show today, Dustin Jackson arrives in a police car, Crazy Steve pulls out a fork, and Sami Callihan steals a championship. Welcome, everyone, to Friday Evening's Undercard. I'm Gentleman John. He's Electrifying Eric. We're your hosts. Eric, how you doing this evening, buddy?
Doing well. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. So right now, we're going to jump right on in and cover episode 1020 of Ohio Valley Wrestling Television. Episode starts off, you get a good recap, Tony Gunn being jumped, Sami Callihan, and then you go to your opening credits montage. What did you think about sort of the video package building up Tony and Sami?
Well, I think it's good because it continues to build that feud. It kind of gives the viewers a sense of what was happening before. And also, it's going to play a role in this episode as well. So it's kind of a bit of foreshadowing, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. And, hey, let's just go ahead and expose the business here. As we are recording this, they have already shot the Clash into Bluegrass. They have not aired it on the Impact Network. What is it? Is it GWN? Is that the Impact streaming service? So they've not aired the Clash yet, but they have shot it. So obviously we know the ending of the Callihan feud, but we're going to save that for another episode where we're going to go over the Clash.
Yeah, so if you do want to read your spoilers, they're out there on the interwebs, but we're going to try to keep this on pace. Yeah,
so this episode starts off, they talk about, obviously, they go ahead and mention the fact that there's a great big casket sitting at ringside, right?
Absolutely. I mean, and, you know, that sort of course, is going to be the main event of the show. Of course, we'll have an old-fashioned casket match between Crazy Steve and Chase Dustin coming up.
Yeah, and that's going to be the main event, like you said. But at least they go ahead and admit that this big pine box is sitting there. Because a lot of times you'll see stuff on WWE where there's something just obviously sitting there, but they don't say anything about it. And it's just really weird. Like, oh, why is there this great big whatever sitting here, obviously on my television screen? Like, you know, what's going on?
Yeah, and I think it was good, too, because it also promotes your main event. And it's a gimmick match, but hey, you know, how often do you really have casket matches?
And, you know, the truth is you got two good gimmicks that it really works for. And obviously, you know, they work when they're not done all the time.
Exactly. I think it was, if you had two characters whose gimmicks really didn't have anything to do with a casket, it would not make any sense. But I think for this one, it made sense. It was actually, you know, a fairly entertaining match. So, but we'll get to that, end of the show.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute here. Just a quick break in the action, ladies and gentlemen. First, I want to apologize. There is a fairly significant background audio noise that you can hear throughout the episode, but the intensity of it increases as the episode progresses. I did discover what caused it, so I can keep it from happening in the future, but I couldn't take it out of the existing audio, and I'm sorry for that. Now, if you want to follow us on social media, we can be found on Instagram at Friday Evenings Undercard, on Twitter at FUndercard, on Facebook by going to facebook.com/Friday Evenings Undercard. You can reach us via email at fridayeveningsundercard@gmail.com. Please have a listen to our interviews with Ohio Valley Wrestling stars Tony Gunn, Sam Thompson, King's Ransom, and Callie. If you want to find Ohio Valley Wrestling, you can find them on all your favorite social media sites and at ovwrestling.com. If you like what you hear on the podcast, please subscribe and give us that 5-star review on iTunes. It'd mean a lot to us. And again, I apologize for that background noise. I just wanted to mention it now so it doesn't surprise you as it continues throughout the episode. But let's get you right back to the action. You start off, and let's just go ahead and admit it. This gauntlet match is sort of its self-contained thing, but there's a heck of a feud in the middle there that we're going to go into.
So I would say, you know, this was actually maybe one of the better gauntlet matches they've had in a while. As far as what it's doing between the in-ring action and what it's doing for advancing stories. I mean, we actually had two feuds playing out in this, which was pretty cool. I liked how they did that. It was very well done.
Yes, definitely. First one is Zoe against Crimson. Two really big guys. And in OVW, it's weird to see Zoe giving up height on somebody, but he's giving up every bit of 4 to 6 inches to Crimson.
Oh, yeah. And I think, for this one, when I saw those two in the ring, first thing I thought, Hoss fight.
Definitely.
Like,
These are two big guys. Obviously, you got Zoe. He looks a lot like a Vader type.
Yeah.
And then Crimson, he's just this big, tall, muscular, athletic guy. He looks like $1 million. He looks like a superstar, right?
Absolutely.
Zoe does his good flip into the corner. Really amazing to see a guy that big be that athletic.
Yeah, I think one thing with Zoe that kind of impressed me is how athletic he really is. And I think using the description of Vader is, it's more than just the look. Vader was always known for being an incredibly athletic big guy. And Zoe's an incredible athlete in what he can do for a guy that size. It's pretty remarkable to watch him, and I hope a lot of fans kind of take notice of that whenever he gets in the ring.
Yes, he is a very superb athlete, but he does that big backsplash into the corner. He's hitting Crimson with those elbows. So he hits him with the elbows, comes out, gets a big body slam on Crimson. He goes for that Zoe bomb. Crimson rolls out. Comes back in, it's a big hit, 2 count on Crimson, good cross body. Crimson ducks it, beating on Zoe while he's down. Crimson comes out of the corner, hits a spear, that's a 3 count. Takes about 2 minutes and 12 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, I think it was a good start. I mean, it was an action-packed match. It, I think, with these gauntlet matches, I think it's always important how you really start them. You got to kind of set that tone. I think this, set a good tone for what was going to follow.
Absolutely. And so, then you get the music hit, and you get one of the King's Ransom brothers coming out, Maximus Khan.
And when I heard that, I was like, this is great booking. Because, even though you're not getting a tag team match, you're getting something that, even though this is a gauntlet match for the television title, these matches between, when you have Crimson and Maximus Khan, it almost doesn't feel like they even care about that title. They're getting a chance to get at each other in the ring. And I think it builds what, we've talked about as maybe one of the best tag team feuds in all of professional wrestling right now.
Yes, definitely.
And, if I would say this, if you're not paying attention to this feud, watch some old episodes, catch yourself up, because it's a pretty hot feud right now. I thought the start, Crimson kind of is doing everything he can to avoid contact at the start. I thought kind of a good classic heel move there, which I think kind of worked. And I think we're going to see a really good match that, these guys have chemistry, whether it's a tag team match or it's a singles.
Definitely. So, yeah, like you said, Crimson, he rolls out of the ring. He's walking around outside. Hits a big clothesline, Crimson does, once he gets back in. Really stiff-looking clothesline. Then Maximus hits 2 big clotheslines. Then you get Maximus standing up on the second turnbuckle, and he's hitting Crimson. This really standard spot, right? And I don't know if you picked up on it. Crimson has this really odd mannerism when it looks like he's getting really just beat up. Have you caught on to that?
Yeah, I have noticed that.
And maybe this is what he intends to do, or I don't know. It looks like he's smiling, and it's really disconcerting, honestly, because you're like, what is this guy doing? Yeah, I don't know if that's just how he looks when he's getting beat up or what, because he doesn't sell it. Like, he doesn't come back out of the corner and laugh it off at the guy hitting him, right?
Yeah.
So, anyway, that was just something that I noticed. I saw it during the Zoe match. I kind of went back and looked at it. I was like, what is he doing? And then I saw it again in this one, and I kind of made a note of it. It's different.
Yeah, definitely something you would not expect.
Other than that, we go to the finish. Maximus hits him with a corkscrew clothesline. 1, 2, 3. 2 minutes and 27 seconds.
I thought it was a great finish. And, I will say this, when we had Crimson and Maximus Khan, I kind of had a feeling who the next guy out would be.
Yes. No shocker. Maximus wins. Well, maybe a shocker if you don't kind of know, but Maximus wins, and the next one out is Jax Dane. I honestly don't know what to say about this match. There's not a heck of a lot to say.
No, and I think what was kind of interesting, Dane goes over, but it actually happens during the break, which I kind of thought that was a little odd, because, when they come back, they make note of that, but you don't really see what happens. I mean, for this one, between, Jax and Maximus, we don't really have a lot to say about it.
No, I mean, that's really it. Maximus gets some big punches, gets a good shoulder tackle, and then they cut to a commercial. And then you come back and Leonis is in the ring.
Yeah, so, I mean, I did write, it is nice booking what they're doing here, because I think it's a way to give another wrinkle to this feud. And, get these guys kind of, some singles action as well, see what they can do. But, kind of odd that, the fall happened during the break. But
yeah, one thing I will say, I'm not trying to like run down a sponsor here because I don't want to do that. The Night School of Welding ad, the music on that ad, and I don't know how many people out there at all have ever seen this movie. I don't know if you've seen it. There was an old movie from the 70s. It was called Planet of Dinosaurs. You ever seen that one?
That sounds like a VHS classic.
The music in the background of the School of Welding ad reminds me of Planet of Dinosaurs. Just like a really like a groovy, like 70s, disco vibe to the commercial, right?
Yeah, it's, I gotta say, I've gotten, not living in the Louisville area, I've gotten to know some of the local businesses in Louisville very well. So
yes.
OVW week in and week out.
Yes, we've gotten to know the School of Welding. If I ever want to learn how to weld.
I mean, if I want to learn how to weld, there's only one place I'm calling.
Absolutely, only one place I'm calling.
So, listeners, if you want to learn how to weld, call the Night School of Welding.
Night School of Welding. They say they can take you, in 6 weeks, and they'll teach you how to weld. And,
I mean, that's a life skill you can use.
I swear to you, we had this guy that worked with me in the radio room in Alabama when I was down there. He got a job working as a welder at one of those shipyards down there, and it was like $30 an hour as an apprentice.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
That's like just off the streets, a kid, with high school education and a military background, but he got hired for $30 an hour, and it was like, once you get certified, once you get all your certificates, it's more than that. It's like, holy cow, man, I'm in the wrong profession.
Yeah, really. Where did we go wrong? We could have gone to the Harvard of Welding.
Could have gone to the Harvard of Welding. Anyway, so we've put the sponsor over for 2 minutes here.
Yeah, and they paid us nothing.
So anyway, there's like a match going on here somewhere. Jax Dane against Leonis Khan. Jax takes Leonis into the stairs. Jax Dane takes him down by the hair. They do have a heck of a lot of hair. I do have a note here that it's been nothing but big hosses in the match so far, because that's what it's been.
And, to me, this had a really old school feel to it. Because you think about tag team matches, I think what's been nice about this feud is, when I think about it, it almost has like a Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express feel. Like, they're just going and going and going, and no matter when they get in the ring together, there's going to be, it's going to be a fight. And I think that kind of continued with this. And I think what it does is, it continues their feud, but, it does it in a little bit of a different format.
Yeah, absolutely. Jax tries to go into the corner, and he eats the boot twice. I mean, you would think a former NWA World Champion would have learned after eating it once. Really, really athletic move from Leonis. He does that front flip over the top rope, hits the ground, and then does a good clothesline on Jax, and that takes you to the pinfall.
Yeah, and what we do have, you think about it, Maximus and Leonis have gone over Crimson and Jax.
Yeah, they have both taken down the War Kings. I have
kind
that
of an interesting
match.
way of doing that.
Yeah, really, really good there. I have that match at 2 minutes and 36 seconds after they come back from the commercial break.
So, of course, now moving on, we have the next match in the gauntlet.
You end up with now Leonis Khan, winner of the previous match, and you go to Justin Smooth coming down. Really cool start of the match. Anybody from Ring of Honor that watches Ring of Honor probably got a good pop of this, or at least old Ring of Honor. It's sort of a handshake, hand slap, I don't know what you want to call it, to start the match.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it was kind of a neat little way of starting it, because you don't always see that. You see it in Ring of Honor, but you don't always see it elsewhere, so kind of cool to see that.
It was. And then, they start out, take a waist lock into a headlock. Good old school start to a match. Leonis does an arm drag Smooth is selling it really hard on his arm. The announcers are really hard hyping the match with Justin Smooth and Brian Cage, rightfully so, I think, because Cage is a legitimate Impact star.
Yeah, I think it was certainly they're I think they use this gauntlet match well. I mean, not only to sell these feuds that they're having going, but they also use it to sell what's going on coming up, for the big show. The Clash and the Bluegrass, and I think that they use this really well. They maximize that time.
Smooth hits the Street Justice and takes it to a pinfall.
And I got to say, I really like that as a finisher. I like any finisher that kind of has that ability to kind of, there's the old joke, RKO out of nowhere. I like a finisher that you can just, wham, it happens. And I think it's a good look too.
It is.
You get a foot to your face, it's going to knock you out.
Yeah, you're going down from that, especially as big as Smooth is.
Yeah, and I mean, he, executes it really well. It looks good. I mean, it looks really great on television. So, certainly a, really solid finisher there.
Definitely. And then you get Colton Cage coming out.
Friend of the show, Colton Cage.
A definite friend of the show.
That's a little inside baseball for everybody. We'll maybe tell that story one day.
Yeah, there's probably like 3 people out there that get that joke.
Yeah. There's honestly 2 people in the world that get this joke.
Yeah. So Colton comes down with Dustin Jackson's ex or whatever she is. I really don't want to just. Well, we'll get to that in a second. The whole Colton Dustin thing, because spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Anyway, Smooth hits him with a great looking spine buster. OVE guys are throwing trash into the ring, distracting Smooth. Colton hits a scissor kick for a pin. You got anything else?
Now, I should add, the fact when the spine buster was hit, I do believe they referred to it as an Anderson spine buster.
Yeah, I remember.
So
there was a definite reference to Arn Anderson when he hit that big spine buster.
Which I will have to say, fun fact, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time was Arn Anderson. Just because, he really looked like a guy I would know growing up. That just happened to wrestle. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I kind of popped
like
for that reference.
Regular guy who's wrestling. So, that makes Colton your new television champion going into the Clash and moving forward on television.
Yeah, and I think, when Cage went over, my first thought was, well, this sets up a nice feud coming up. Like, immediately my mind was like, hey, this is great. This adds another wrinkle to it. I mean, hey, Colton takes his girl, maybe Dustin Jackson can take his title. Of course, that then leads to a shot backstage.
Backstage out in the parking lot.
You can take it from there.
And here comes Dustin Jackson out of the cop car into the arena, jumps into the ring, and just commences to lay into him. He's attacking the referees. At one point, he hulks up and he tears his shirt off.
Yeah, that was a nice look. And my favorite part of this, I mean, clearly it's just mass chaos. Refs are getting thrown around, everything else. But at one point, I couldn't catch who said it, but they said, it's a wrestling ring. He can beat up anyone he wants. I was like, thank you. It's like any crime in the world, if you do it in a wrestling ring, not against the law. Fun fact. So
yeah, it's a unique experience. Okay, so the one knock or whatever, or the biggest knock that I have on this segment, because if you've listened to the previous shows, you know that I'm not a fan of sort of the whole happening that's going on here, right? Dustin Jackson comes out of the back and he is wearing a white tank top, and I don't know if y'all listening can tell, but I'm from the South. And Eric's from the South, and while Kentucky is, sort of like a border state.
It was a border state in the American Civil War. I can say that with certainty.
They are pretty Southern, and I will guarantee you that when somebody sees somebody wearing that shirt, there ain't but one name for that shirt, right? We don't have to say it,
name.
But there's only one name for that shirt, and I don't know if I would have had my baby face, who I'm trying to get some sympathy for, after he beat up his girlfriend, come out wearing that white tank top.
Yes, and for those that are not from the American South, the nickname for that style of tank top is a wife beater.
Yes. Yeah. I don't believe I would have had my baby face come out wearing the white tank top.
Now, in his defense, he did rip off the wife beater. So, is he saying I am ripping off this of my past? I don't know if I'm getting way too deep into this.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's just it's a weird look. Yeah, I don't want to be just too bad and just completely dump on this feud. So I mean,
yeah, I just I think we've said it in previous episodes. There's ways to get that heat there. I mean, it's one thing to steal the girlfriend. I don't know. I think bringing in the whole domestic violence angle. I don't know. It just, to me, it's not cool. Like,
the thing is like, if he was the heel and came out wearing that shirt, like, what? You just pick up the microphone and be like, dude, man, we saw it on camera. You didn't have to wear the shirt.
Exactly.
But, like, this is the guy you try to get sympathy on.
Yeah, exactly. But, yeah, I mean, it was a nice revenge spot, I think. He gets that revenge, and I think it'll probably build into, hopefully it'll build into a nice feud for those guys. And also having a title, it gives Jackson something to take from Cage.
Yes.
Which is what you kind of want. I mean, you have to have something. Because do you really want to take your girl back? Not really. You beat him, that's great. But, if you take his title, you're taking something from him. It's a way to kind of complete that story. And so I think this is, a nice... we might quibble with actually how they've gotten to here, but as far as the feud now, I think it sets it up nicely.
It does. So after that, they were just beating each other up, going to the back, or however that segment ended. You come back and you've got the It Girls, Jay Lee, Valerie Verman, and Callie in the back. Jay Lee shoves Callie into a locker and is like screaming at her about why Callie took away her shot at the Clash in the Bluegrass. At that point, the door flings open and in walks an unidentified man wearing a pig mask. And those three women in that locker room commence to screeching and screaming and squalling and going crazy. Not in a good way.
Exactly. No.
As a side note to that, okay, obviously we watch on YouTube, and sometimes you'll kind of zip past some of these commercials. The ones you're especially going to go past are the ones that are saying, okay, hey, on Wednesday nights we're, at the Davis Arena or whatever.
Right.
And so this one was for, like, the E-Town show that they're doing, I think, in 2 weeks. So I skip past the commercial for the E-Town Rumble, and I skip just a little bit too far, and I had my volume in my headset turned up just a little bit too loud. And so when it finished buffering and that video came back, all I had in my headset was just screeching and screaming. I snatched my headset off. It was so loud.
Yeah, they definitely got their point across. Those ladies sold it well.
Yes, they definitely did. He asks why everybody's clowning around, and then he walks out. You cut out to the ringside area, and now he gets his introduction, and we find out that this is Sin Bodhi, the Warlord of Weird, that we've been getting the vignettes for the last couple weeks.
And for some of the fans, you may or may not recognize him, but he's actually had a run in WWE, even though it was brief. He's the artist formerly known as Kizarny.
Yes, he had a cup of coffee in WWE is what he had.
As Randy Savage would have said.
Yeah, he worked precisely one singles match in WWE.
But had actually a lot of vignettes, and actually kind of memorable vignettes around that time. So this is a guy that's been in the industry for a while, a seasoned pro, also a childhood friend of Edge and Christian. So
yeah, and he is the original wrestling coach, along with D'Lo Brown, of all people, of King's Ransom.
There we go. So, some background on this guy.
They said that they broke into the business at the Sin Bodhi Wrestling School out in Las Vegas.
So yes, I mean an interesting character, interesting look, and moving forward into the match with KTD, a very interesting ring style.
Yeah, definitely weird. He's wearing a butcher's apron, which I noted. I don't know what the deal is with that. He does his what does he call it? The funnel cake.
The funnel cake.
Listen, I'm not going to describe that to you. I'll do it no justice. Go watch the match.
Yeah. Do yourself a favor and discover what the funnel cake is.
Yes. Just go watch the match. He does it 3 times, in fact.
I will say the best way to, I think, if someone said describe the funnel cake, I would say it's an inspired modern take on the stink face.
Yeah, that is actually kind of true.
And we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, leave it at that. He ties KTD up in the ropes outside the ring and tickles him.
Yeah, actually in my notes I just wrote tickle spot. So, fun fact behind the scenes. But I mean, I thought he did some pretty interesting. I actually liked he choke slammed himself.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
I thought that was actually kind of a cool move because I mean, you've seen guys get choke slammed, but the fact that he did it to himself, it actually looked really cool on television. So yeah, I thought that was pretty good stuff.
And then he hits, and I don't know if this is his finisher. It finished the match, that's for sure. But I don't know if it's like his designated finishing move or whatever. I described it as a double underhook DDT.
Yeah.
He takes the win over KTD. This is his debut match on OVW television, or at least like re-debut, if you will.
And they do. I mean, the announcers do make that note, which I kind of like. I think sometimes you have guys that come back in a different package, and everybody knows who it is. I think it's kind of cool when you just admit it, and it actually works. That you can say, "Hey, he was here 10 years ago. Now he's back. He's a completely different whack job character now. We can't explain it."
Yes.
It works. I think so. So good work on their part for just kind of admitting it. So.
Yeah. And he does this weird thing where so the ref was Charlene, right? He starts like slow dancing with the ref afterwards.
Yes. After he picked his nose.
Oh, yeah.
And put it in KTD's mouth, and then like reached out to the ref. And I love how she played it off. Wait a minute, which hand did he actually use? Not that it actually matters, because I think but yeah, I thought that was kind of fun. I don't know. I think this character, it's different, and I don't really have a problem with it. I think it could be interesting. I think if anything, it's also a good veteran presence backstage for everybody, which is always a good thing.
I wonder how long or how many shows he's going to do. You know what I mean? Because obviously we know he was on this show. We know he was on The Clash. And also, hey, listen, no spoilers. Anybody that wants to know this already knows it. He was not on the 10/21 taping, so the episode after The Clash. He was not on the taping for that one.
Yeah, so we'll see what goes on, but at the very least kind of an interesting character and some interesting moves. So,
yeah, like part of me wants to dislike this match, but then it's like I don't know because they only really had I didn't time it, but it can't be more than 2 or 3 minutes. So they didn't have a lot of time, and I've seen some of Sin Bodhi's work like outside of OVW, and it can be some really, really weird stuff. I mean, it almost is like early Doink the Clown when he was working as that really savage heel type.
That's actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. That was my first thought. This is like kind of like I was like, this is a 2019 Doink the Clown. Except he doesn't have like the kind of happy clown look that then goes demented. He's just demented. But yeah, I think kind of has that Doink feel and that Doink inspiration, but it doesn't come across as I'm just ripping off the Doink the Clown gimmick.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't have that, and that's actually really, really good because he's coming off as being just, really weird.
Yeah.
Then you end up with Gilbert Corsi interviewing Sami Callihan and OVE. I don't really have a heck of a lot to say about this. Callihan screams back and forth. It gets the match over really good, and he says he's leaving, and the boys walk out.
Well, and I think, they also, before that segment, they showed like the kind of cell phone footage of Gunn confronting Callahan at the comic book store. And then
you're right.
Cut to that. And actually, what I made as I was watching this, I wrote, it was quality heel work. I mean, the people were legitimately not liking them. They were doing their jobs. And I also wrote it had an NWO feel to it. They're ringside, they're kind of being disorderly, and then they're like, hey, we're leaving. And I think keep that NWO feel in mind in a few moments. We'll get to that here shortly.
Yes. Okay, so they come back from the break after they do the OVE thing, and they all walk out, and your commentators are talking about the card. So they announced the 8-man match. So you have Dustin Jackson, Shiloh Jones, Mr. Marvelous, Melvin Maximus, and Sam Thompson against Jake and Dave Christ, Sawyer Fulton, and Ace Austin. Spoiler alert, one of those four for Impact is not going to be in the match. It's not one of the Christ brothers, by the way. So one of those is not going to be in the match. They announced Madison Rayne against Callie. Fantastic match for Callie to run. Friend of the show. She was on here the other week trying to get another interview with her. Justin Smooth against Brian Cage announced officially. I mean, they had talked about it earlier in the show, but so you get an announcement for that one. And you get a fatal 4-way match with Cash Flow, Zoe, and 2 guys from Impact. Let's see. I've got that one pulled up here. That ends up being Moose and Jay Bradley. Jay Bradley, I believe, is like an OVW guy, but he's not there every week.
So yeah, I think it definitely builds some hype for the upcoming show, which is what they wanted to do. And I think it was kind of a good little promo there to build what was going on.
Yeah, really good. Let me see my notes here. Oh yeah, and they announced the 3-way dance for the tag title, where the Void and King's Ransom are going to go for 10 minutes. If it's a draw after 10 minutes, the War Kings come in. You make it a triple threat. If one of them wins, then now they have a single tag team match against the War Kings. And so that was the end of that one. I mean, they pretty much announced the whole card for the show.
So now we're moving on to our main event.
The main event. One of the longer matches, not necessarily the longest segment, but definitely one of the longer matches that I've seen on OVW TV.
Yeah, they actually gave this match, some time to really develop, and I think, both guys, Crazy Steve and Chase Destiny, I think really used it well. I thought it was an incredibly good match, very entertaining, and we'll kind of get into it here.
Yes. You get McNaylor on the mic starting the show. He's talking about Nigel Winter's neck. He says it's not broken. I will admit that he used some medical terminology. I didn't write it down. And
basically what he said was nerve impingement. Fun fact, I had the same thing with my neck. So, it's not fun.
So anyway, the weird spot where Steve tries to suplex Chase into the casket.
Yes.
I don't believe I have ever seen anybody try that. I will guarantee you I've never seen anybody succeed at doing it, but I don't think I've ever seen anybody try.
No.
So that was actually interesting because you're sitting there, you're like, wow, man, that's not that big Yokozuna casket that they used that one time. I mean, this is the little small thing, so what are we doing here?
And also, there's the whole thing of time I was watching, I was like, that's a narrow window to try to operate through.
Yes. You're on a ring apron and trying to get into that little bitty casket.
What could go wrong?
There could be a lot go wrong. And then Steve, either out of his boot or like out of his knee wrap, he pulls out a fork.
Yes.
And my first thought with that was, holy smokes, I did not know Steve learned how to wrestle from Abdullah the Butcher.
Exactly. That actually, when I saw a fork, I was like, Shout out to Abdullah.
Shout out to Abdullah.
Everybody's favorite butcher.
Can there be anybody else that comes to mind with a fork? I mean, it's got to just be Abby, right?
I can't. I don't know of any other moment in pro wrestling involving forks outside of this match that did not have Abdullah the Butcher in it.
Yes.
So
Chase stops himself from getting stabbed in the eye with the fork. You see the fork go flying, and Steve kind of shuts him down, and then you take it into the commercial break. You come back from the break, and Crazy Steve has a chair, and he's just choking the life out of Chase with it. And then a big hit across the back.
Yep.
Hits him with a massive European uppercut that, I mean, looked like it really connected into the corner. Steve tries to go for a cannonball into the corner. Chase gets his leg up, and Steve eats the second buckle. Now, I had a note here. Maybe 2 minutes before this, there was a chair sitting there, like stuck vertical in the corner, but somehow it got like knocked out onto the floor, and I'm like, I think that spot where Steve went into the second buckle, he was supposed to go into that chair, and it just kind of came loose. Yeah,
but hey, give him credit for calling it on the fly there.
Yeah, just like, whatever, the turnbuckle's still there. I'll take it into the turnbuckle. Then somehow the chair got back in the ring, and Steve's like sitting there, and he's begging off. Chase jumps up, and he hits a Death Valley driver onto the chair. Tries to get Chase into the casket. He gets half the lid down, and then he's like standing there, and Chase pulls the fork out. So when the fork went flying, if you kind of paid attention, it went flying into the casket.
Yes.
And so Chase pulls the fork out and ends up stabbing Steve just right in the groin.
Yeah, I don't know if Abdul the Butcher's restaurant serves Rocky Mountain oysters, but, well, you just saw a fork go into them.
The concession stand at the Davis Arena does now.
Absolutely.
Catered by Chase Destiny.
Yeah, and I think, actually when I watched that spot, I think any male watching cringes with that.
Oh, yes.
But moving on.
And then Amon comes into the ring, starts beating down on Chase Destiny, and Steve uses the green mist.
A la Great Muta.
Going back to the Great Muta. We're getting all the old school wrestler shout outs in this match.
Yeah, we've mentioned Abdullah the Butcher and Great Muta. Is this an NWA show from like 1989?
I know. So yeah, the green mist, that gets Amon out. Chase pulls out the bag, gets it on Steve. He rolls him into the casket, and you get a good win for Chase Destiny. For time, I had roughly 9 minutes and 15 seconds or so. It depends how much kind of was in the middle there for the commercials.
Yeah, I think, if this is kind of the end of that feud, I think it's a good way to kill it.
Yeah.
I think, or it leaves you maybe a little bit of an opening to maybe do a next, phase with this. But either way, good match, good finish. I had no problems with it.
No, I had one, and it's basically the ending, and I understand that you're short on time and you got to do this, but I would have liked to have seen Chase get to celebrate a little bit, but essentially as soon as he drops the lid on the casket, they cut the cameras to the back of the building where Sami Callihan and the OVE guys are back there just beating the daylights out of everybody.
Which is where I said that NWO feel earlier. Because I even believe I saw a few baseball bats out there.
Yes, there were baseball bats. There were pipes.
Yeah. And I think, to your point, you didn't get Chase Destiny to celebrate. I think it does add to the chaotic nature of what they're trying to do. It just immediately was like, oh my gosh, this is happening. But
yeah, that's true.
I mean, I don't know. It works either way. And I think, what you're seeing is, honestly, that brought me back to the days of Monday Nitro.
Yeah, it did. And then you see something that you almost never see, and Sami Callihan steals the championship belt and goes driving off with it.
And I should add, great camera work The look on Callahan's face, the belt right there as he's driving away. Good execution there.
Yes. One note about Sami Callahan's car. Listen here, Sami. I don't care how bad of a man you think you are. When you're driving a car with leopard print front seat covers, you're not a bad man.
Well, you could be Johnny B. Bad.
Man, we're going for all the old school references today.
So, yeah.
But, dude, that was the thing I noticed. It just jumped. It just slapped me when I saw that.
I did crack up, too. I mean, I wanted to be like, hey, Sammy, your girlfriend called. She wants her car back.
Yeah, with the leopard skin seat cover.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you know what? Maybe he should start selling those. That could be some cool merch.
Yes, Sami Callahan logoed leopard skin seat covers.
If he makes those, we will say this right now. If he sends us complimentary copies of those, I will put them in my Subaru tomorrow.
Yes, I don't know if I'd put them in the Cadillac.
Come on, do it for the show.
I'd put them in a van.
Fair enough. We'll take the van. Kids love it.
Oh man! So yeah, and obviously the weird thing about this, and so there was this kind of odd dynamic playing out as they were going through this whole thing, because OVW kind of tries to sell their stuff sometimes as being like Saturday morning, you know what I mean? But Sami Callahan was on Twitter the minute he pulled out of the parking lot at the Davis Arena, because he was in the passenger seat, right? The minute they pulled out of the parking lot, they were like driving down the highway in Louisville, yelling and screaming that they had stolen Tony Gunn's belt. And so, that's just one of those different things about wrestling, taped wrestling, I guess.
Yeah, it was I think you're right. I mean, the feel of this, though, man, that was 1996, 1997 NWO right there.
Definitely.
Even the solid, the aluminum bats hitting the concrete, just that very distinctive sound, that came through. And, of course, the era we're in now, if you have a feud, what do you have to do? You tweet about it. So, and give credit to Sami Callahan. He did not tweet and drive. He was a passenger, so kids at home, don't drive distracted.
He definitely was.
So yeah, he did it in a safe manner, in the comfort of a leopard skin seat cover.
Yes, on his leopard skin seat covers. Now, have we talked about the match rating system that we're going to try to do for OVW, or has that not come up?
I don't think we've really fully hashed that out yet.
Okay. So the match rating that we sort of came up with, it's sort of like Michelin stars, but I'm going to grade below what would be like a 1 star, because if you're familiar with the Michelin star system, for restaurants, obviously a 1-star restaurant is unless you're in New York City, that's probably the best restaurant in town, right?
Yeah.
Or better than the best restaurant in most towns. So basically, I go with 6 numbers. At least that's when I look at them here. 6 numbers, just 1 through 6. A 1 is just, I don't want to say it's bad, but there's just not a lot to talk about. 10-second match in the gauntlet it's a 1. It is what it is, right? 2 is average. Let's just face it, most matches on any wrestling show are probably 2s. 3 is a good match, 4 is a 1 star, 5's 2 stars, and 6 is 3 stars. And I'm not going to even attempt to break this down and say, it's a 5 1/4. No, that's not happening.
Yeah, we're not Dave Meltzer.
Yeah, I don't have the stamina to do that. So for this show, and I don't know if Eric will disagree with some of these, because he doesn't actually know what I've rated these matches. Basically, all the gauntlet matches and the Sin Bodhi match I said were 2s.
I think that's fair.
Now, I will admit, that is looking at the match only. because it's too much. It's getting a little too deep to say, like, how much did the Maximus Con Crimson match do for the overall feud between those two tag teams? Like, that's just, it's a little much, right? Because, yes, if you're going to talk about that, then that set of 4 matches, or, Maximus against Crimson, Jack Stane against Maximus, Leonis against Jack Stane. Okay, so the 3 matches with the War Kings and King's Ransom, yes, they did a significant job to move that feud forward. But as individual matches, they're 2.5 minutes, right? It's a good, solid, average match, right? Now, the match of the night is obviously Chase Destiny against Crazy Steve.
Oh, absolutely.
And I put that one at a 4. I mean, I said that's a solid Michelin-starred match right there.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I think the challenge you have with any gimmick match is sometimes the gimmick can overwhelm the match. This one, it didn't. I think you had a good number of spots. It was a well-paced match. And actually, to me, the match told a good story. Not really just as far as the feud, but I think just it was a logical progression in that match. I think, I would definitely agree with the 4 there. So
that, to me, probably puts that one in one of the... I think when I went back and rewatched all of the episodes of OVW, I only put a 1 star. We're going to have to come up with something better than a star, right? Like this one gets like 1 DDT or something, or maybe not a DDT. But whatever. We'll have to figure that one out.
Hey, fans at home, if you have ideas, hit us up on social media. If we like your idea, we might use it.
Send them in, absolutely. So it gets 1 of whatever unit of measure we decide to use. And the only other match I remember offhand that I gave that to was Tony Gunn against Abyss. And yeah, I don't remember. I know I put it down for another one. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, no joke. King's Ransom against the War Kings for the tag titles a couple weeks ago. So yeah, that puts the casket match right up there in the top tier territory as for matches so far this year.
Yeah, I think a fun match, entertaining match. It did everything you want for your main event of the show.
Definitely, and a hard hitting match. I mean, you don't see forks and green mist anymore on wrestling television. And so it's something that works because it's got that nostalgia thing to it, but it's also something that everybody is familiar with and everybody knows that this is something that works.
Yeah, so with that, we basically think we've wrapped up this episode.
Yeah, that is pretty much the end of this episode. It builds into the Clash in the Bluegrass. Obviously, as we said, that has already been filmed as we are recording this, and as you're listening to this, we will have a review coming out on that shortly. And as we've been saying, we may experiment with how we try to put that out, to try to see if there's a way that we can get something out a little more timely each week. But hey, with that, we appreciate everybody listening, and we'll talk to you again next time.